So I know exactly how I want to die. I want to be 104 years old and get eaten by a bear. The way I see it going down is my wife Allison passes away quietly in her sleep at the age of 100. And me, I'm heartbroken, and I take a couple of days to settle our affairs, and then I pack myself a lunch. I set out for the woods back behind our pasture, and I sit underneath this big old oak tree and I wait. I wait for an old mean black bear to show up and meet up with me out there. And when I see that black bear, I want to challenge him to a duel. And we're gonna go toe to toe, but he's gonna easily kill me and then devour me. And as he devours me, what he's actually doing is returning me back to this land, because this land means so much to me that I wanna be back here when it's all said and done. And I wanna go into the great regenerative cycle that is life here at Goldshaw Farm, and I wanna be put back into the soil by way of an animal. I know this is where most people are absolutely appalled by the idea and think that it's a horrific way to die. But to me, if I'm in the type of shape and condition where I'm 104 years old and I can trudge all the way back to the back of the pasture there and wait for a bear to come fight me and then stand up and try to fight that bear, I feel like I've made a whole series of good choices to end up in that place. That means I've lived a long, full, and healthy life, and that means I don't have fear as I go to face death. And honestly, I'm not a macabre person, I just subscribe to that theory of beginning with the end in mind. Release the quacken! So today's video is all about health insurance, which should totally not be controversial in the least bit whatsoever.
Why must you turn my office into a house of lies?
But I know to make it to 104, I gotta work on a lot of things. I gotta keep working on this farm, and I gotta keep working on myself. I know that I've got a few health strikes against me, but I know that I can also work on those things. I also know that if I'm gonna be alive and kicking at 104, I'm gonna need some pretty darn good health insurance. And one of the things that I get emails a lot about from you guys is what sort of options are out there for farmers and self-employed people and homesteaders when it comes to health insurance. And this is by no means a political platform I'm getting on right now, nor is it some sort of cheesy sales pitch, so don't worry. And in fact, here in the United States, health insurance in general is a massive issue. What are you doing? And that massive issue becomes even more acute when you look at the current public health crisis we're in. Ooh, I hear turkeys. Toby, do you hear the turkeys? I hear wild turkeys off over there. We're just about in wild turkey hunting season. I'm really excited, and I've been hearing a ton of turkeys over there, off in the woods there. So stay tuned. Oh, no. Like it or not, healthcare is really expensive. And when it gets down to it too, healthcare is like the single greatest risk and cause for people going into bankruptcy here in the United States. That to me is kind of crazy. And when I ask around to my other farming and homestead friends to say what they do,
neither of us currently have regular jobs. So we've been living out here for over 2 years now. And for most of that time, we haven't had any insurance.
I get my insurance through my job.
We don't have health insurance right now.
Last year, we qualified for insurance through Marketplace.
We both currently work off farm jobs, but I carry the insurance.
To me, it seems kind of crazy in an industrialized society in 2020 not to have some sort of form of healthcare coverage to ensure that if you get sick or injured, there's a way to take care of you without sending you to the poorhouse. In fact, it's really only my friends in the UK and Canada who seem to have it all figured out.
Here in the UK, our healthcare is provided by the National Health Service, and it's free at point of delivery, which means we don't have to take out private healthcare or healthcare insurance because it's all dealt with within our taxes.
Here in Canada, everyone gets their health insurance from their province. It covers all of our needs and is paid for with our taxes.
If you're living in Canada and you're a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, you are covered under universal health care.
When we need to go to the doctor, we just go.
Canada spent around $4,500 USD per person. In the United States, double that.
Which really leads me to this situation of, when it comes down to it for me, we're just gonna continue to rely on health insurance either from my day job or Allison's day job.
Greater than 50% of Americans today get their health service support through an employer.
And right now, honestly, that's perfectly fine. We both like our jobs.
Do you think it makes sense at all for healthcare to be tied to employers anymore?
But it really does make me wonder, like, how can somebody get comfortable with taking this massive life risk of starting their own business and making that business like their full-time form of employment without having some sort of protection or safety or coverage that's affordable when it comes to thinking about their health and their family's health? The health insurance that you're getting from your job is sort of like a form of golden handcuffs. And it becomes this safety and security and stability that even if you're in a financial place where you can let go of your regular paycheck, you can't feel comfortable about letting go of your health coverage because you don't know what's gonna happen and you don't know how you're gonna handle those unexpected risks.
The U.S. economy has shrunk by 1/3, the fastest drop in U.S. history.
Desiree Velez didn't lose just one job, she lost 3.
I never anticipated being on unemployment, period.
You know, health insurance as a workplace benefit is really a 20th century construct. I don't know why so many people are wedded to it. And maybe it made more sense when somebody would get a job and work at the Ford plant for 40 years before retiring. But when you have so much job movement because of career growth, when you have so many people working in a gig economy or trying to start their own businesses, it becomes really hard to have that health insurance as an employment benefit construct. It really disincents people to try to build new businesses. And as somebody who works in the insurance industry,
I sell insurance.
What a shock.
Not the health insurance industry, but another part of the insurance industry, I recognize that health insurance is all about risk and pooling risk.
I've never been insured in my life. I don't believe in insurance. There's no risk.
And that's one of the more complicated and challenging parts of the discussion. But any health insurance plan is taking all of the premiums paid by or for the healthy people and using it to cover the costs incurred by the sick people. And that really isn't any different than, say, auto insurance, where you're doing the exact same thing. A pool of motorists who are subsidizing the accident costs of a small percentage of those motorists. The only difference is most people aren't getting into accidents on a regular basis. But when it comes to health insurance, that's where stuff happens all the time. You have your things that are related to your lifestyle, but then you also have those things that come out of nowhere, like global pandemics. And then when you throw on top of it the amorphous and constantly escalating cost of healthcare, it just becomes, I think, impossible to create the appropriate pool of risk to offset it with insurance.
And then after we had Hadassah, we did end up dropping it. We had to make a tough decision. Are we going to pay $400 a month to health insurance that we really don't use, we never used except for the birth of Hadassah?
And I know that this video is probably getting way too wonky and heady, and I will get to some ducks in just a minute, but let me finish this rant. And then just to throw one more log on the fire here, we have this challenge that humans continue to grow older and older. And as you grow older, your healthcare costs are only going to escalate further. And ultimately, that's why I've become a fan of say, nationalized healthcare. Pinko! Where you have a system where the government is covering the costs as a human service that you do, just because you feel like healthcare is a basic right. You feel like it's the compassionate thing to do to make sure all people have access to appropriate healthcare.
There is no such thing as free healthcare.
If everybody has something for free, who's going to pay for it?
What if people pay for it by taxes? What do you think of that?
If something is a right, but we can no longer afford to pay for it, does it then become a luxury?
Healthcare is a human right, not just a privilege.
I know that that system comes with its costs. I know that that system also comes with its challenges and probably bureaucratic red tape.
I don't want the government picking what I can and cannot do.
But when I look at the absolutely screwed up system that we have today and how messed up it is and how it really incents people to stay in jobs that they might not like, and it sometimes forces people into bankruptcy at no fault of their own.
Now think about that. That does not make sense.
So back to that initial question of what do homesteaders and farmers do for health insurance? It's usually either that they or their spouses are working some sort of off-farm job. Okay, rant time over. Here's a quick check of the pond for you guys. So far, no movement. We've had a little bit more rain, and that's what's led to some of that water down there. I know some of you guys have asked the question of, was it a problem that we still had water down there? And it really wasn't. So that hole that you see down there at the bottom, that's actually connecting the pond to the water table. So we dug the hole of the pond deep enough so that it would help feed the pond in the future. So that's why that water's down there. Actually, if you even watch the video where Alfred and I were spreading the bentonite, you could see that the water was already creeping back up. So that's not a problem at all. I'm not worried about all the water draining out that hole. How's everybody doing? We've been trying to name our drakes lately, and I have a naming update for you. So hold on, we try to track him down. So I know I told you guys the story of the ninja duck. You can see the ninja duck right here. He was the duck who escaped death, and so I decided to let him live. Well, thanks to the suggestions of you viewers, as well as some of the folks on our TikTok, he now has a name. Because of the martial arts prowess that he demonstrated, his name is gonna be Quacky Chan. So say hello to Quacky Chan. I'm still trying to figure out a name for the other two drakes. We have the son of Yellowneck, who's the one who has that white patch on his neck, and then we have our Cayuga Khaki Campbell Cross, the black duck that you see there. Any suggestions on name would be really helpful. Leave them down below in the comments.